Hi everyone, my name is Liu. Currently, I am a PhD student studying at UT Austin. Today, I'm going to present my work when I was a service designer back in the Northeastern universities. And the title is Designing for Distance Nursing, Reconnecting Nursing Students with Senior Home Residents During the COVID-19. So social isolation is especially like quite prevalent among older adults who live alone in the residential facilities. So older residents living in there generally require in-person assistance to help them manage their healthcare needs. However, during the COVID-19, everybody have to keep social distance and isolated. So which means that there is no in-person assistance, and older adults also have less healthcare support at the early stage of the COVID-19 time. So before the COVID, so our university have worked with together an elderly resident center to improve their nursing assistance. So at that time, older adults are involved in a wellness program facilitated by the nursing students from a local community centers. From local community college. So the nursing students will have head-to-toe assessments and consultant activities in person with our older residents. So, but during the COVID, actually there is less nursing capacity because a lot of nursing students have to help out in the sites, on the sites, and everybody have to stay remote. So most traditional assessment cannot be completed on the virtual settings. And on the other hand, older adults have their difficulties when using technology. So very quickly at the first beginning, we just the designers that we're working on, the things that we do is just to design and print out some flyers for COVID-19 guidelines, or some poster to teach older adults how to reconnect, use the Zoom use how to connect the Zoom with different digital devices, whether they have computer or they only have some landlord form. There is some way that we can reconnect them with the nursing students. So we also put all this information into our weekly newsletters, and we also print out some learning kits, put on the service deck at the front of the residence, so the older adults can take them out very easily and go and then bring them back to their apartment and then use them when they just forgot, okay, how to reconnect the Zoom. So in the first few weeks, what we are doing is just to set up the central a communication channel, how to connect them using phone call, messages, weekly newsletters, or conference call, and also build back the virtual nursing assessment between the nursing students and residents, older residents. But then maybe a 1.5 months later, 2 months, we started to reflect, retrospect what we have been doing, and we find that when we use Zooms as a platform to maintain the connection, actually they tend not to be very efficient to provide the connections that are actually needed for aging care. So we started to have the research question okay, what are the inefficiency, the problems or further challenges for both older adults and the nursing student to connect based on the remote health assessment, and then how to improve our virtual healthcare program to be more engaging and creative. So we quickly just use a survey to survey both the nursing students and older adults to understand, okay, their feelings, their emotional need during the remote communications and the effectiveness of the remote health assessments. So we just very quickly gather 31 surveys from the nursing students, and then we also get a printout surveys because they don't know how to submit their because for the older residents they didn't know how, they don't know how to submit their answers through the Google form. So we just print them out, hand it over to them, and then they write down their answers and then put it back to the service desk. So that is the only way that we can gather their feedback and reconnect with them. So basically the survey response, we can see we just use some like Likert scale to visualize what we found from the survey. So this is the Likert scale data from the nursing students. So we try to understand, okay, whether we divide them. It divide the survey responses by whether the nursing students who work on aging, they have the virtual interactions with older adults or not, like during the whole semester, during like the 3 months. So the divergent static bar chart and crosswalk test show that the existing virtual nursing assessment does not highly influence how students evaluate their sense of like autonomy and their positively during the COVID-19 pandemic. So actually they are quite like positive and they think that they gain a lot of control. It seems like everything goes quite well when they like learn the whole virtual stuff. And in the positives part, we also find that they didn't think they lacked the companionship, and they think that there are a lot of resource to learn and something like that. So the basic result is that we find nursing students are very positive and they're feeling very good. But actually, when we collect the we use like the multiple responses to collect, uh, let them to evaluate the effectiveness of the remote nursing education, we find that they actually have a lot of concerns. So you can see that they're very worried about the learning experience and the efficiency of the clinical skills, which have a very high percentage. And they think that there should be more opportunities to integrate the virtual theory with face-to-face clinical, and there should be more opportunity to practice the skills while in the clinic, because all things becomes virtual. So for the older adults, we only collect 8 surveys at a time. But we also collect a lot of like a qualitative feedback on the based on their understanding and their experience on the virtual nursing assessments. So we have so this is like the short findings and conclusion for what we found from the survey. So for the nursing students, actually, they retain a good sense of control in their daily work, but actually they're worried about their learning experience and clinical skill efficiency. So we find there's a dichotomy in the current nursing educations. So they enjoy the lecture online and it is being recorded, but actually I didn't think it could help in the clinical settings. So for the older adults, they can only use like a phone contact. They find it is very generous to think that it is, I appreciate that we have the nursing students back to their lives, but they also have to compromise, okay, all the limitations due to the COVID. So we just quickly think about what we can do now, right? So we just discussed with the nursing student, maybe we can shorten and simplify the traditional nursing journal for the head-to-toe assessments to redesign a digital one. So when they have the phone contact to RSIM to have the virtual head-to-toe assessment, they can have less time and become more productive and efficiency. So what we do is just that we just wanted to cut down some previous head-to-toe assessments, which cannot be done remotely. And then we remove some sections from the traditional head-to-toe, and then divide this information. So some are collected beforehand by the community wellness nurses, and some can be asked during the phone call. So the procedure totally becomes like, okay, all the residents have virtual head-to-toe assessment, and the students will record important changes and submit them to the records. So the physical assessments will be, somehow will be directed by the nursing students, and older adults will do it on their own and then told the nursing students about their situations. And then the students will submit them to the record, and the community wellness will gain the access for the diagnosis or for possible nursing interventions. So for the second thing that we do is try to enrich the remote nursing consultant activities. So as one way to engage the older adults. So instead of providing some nursing information about the COVID, we found that they really need somebody to talk with them. And then we try to gamify parts of the nursing consultant sections. So here actually is the two storyboard, how we try to integrate the game ideas into their remote consultant activities. So first is a very basic game, which is the bingos. So we utilize the healthcare terms to help older adults to learn about some health topics, including their heart disease, arthritis, and nutrition. The second is a game which is the code names. they divide the older residents into 2 teams and guess the coded names with verb cues given by the nursing students. And then we just quickly have the play test. So with 4 nursing students and 4 older adults, and let them all play the games online. So very interesting is that some of them using computers to connect, but some of them only showing this, they can share the screen, they can see the screen, but some of them can only connect by the LAN or phone. So we have to print out all the materials at first to let them to get prepared. So the pilot had actually worked for actually continue like 2 hours. And then we went through a lot of problems. So previously we want them to separate into 2 teams and then let the nursing students to, as a coordinator to lead the game. But it turns out that each older adult really need one assistant to understand how to play and how to navigate all the materials and instructions. So the nursing student have to be in the same team with them. So like so the designer becomes the coordinator to lead the game. So finally, we just tested the results, like, okay, how they like the game. So they basically said, okay, I like the bingo game, but I love the code names game more. And for the nursing student, we try to understand like how difficulty we can integrate these games into the lectures. So the final understanding is that we find code names offer multiple people to play. It's more social engaging. But actually, there are lots of like small and simple interactions that need to be articulated and educated at the first step. Otherwise, we will have a lot of problems when we play the game. And bingo game was much easier and better format because everyone know how to play the game. We print out all the unit board and allow them to have the personal input, but it's not very socially engaging because they play on their own. So we found that for older adults, anyone without the access to the visual presentations is really like a disadvantage to play the game. So it turns out that the game is not work very well. So we didn't like implement the game in next. So the conclusion is that we use some off-the-shelf tools at first when the COVID-19 hit the ground, and then we retrospect and the limitations due to the COVID, and then to explore some new ways to gamify the nursing lectures and to simplify the virtual head-to-toe assessment. So we think that maybe in the future, we need to figure out some new design strategies to enrich the education interactions between the nursing students and the senior residents. And designers sometimes need to be more situated within the traditional expert workflow for more practical and useful interventions. Yeah, thank you. I think that is the presentation.